All right, I told you I would be here tonight with my other Larry partner, Larry Tiefenbrunn, the guy that invented the Platypod and so much more. The Platypod used to be a device, now it's a whole ecosystem, and you're going to learn about some special things that Platypod offers that will help iPhone photographers. We know that's why you're here, and I'm very excited to welcome to the training session at 6:30 tonight, Dr. Larry Tiefenbrunn. Dr. T, good to see you.
Hi, everybody. How are you doing? Nice to be seen. And hello to everybody. And thank you again to Scott Kelby, to Larry Becker, to the entire crew back there for having me once again at a Kelby One conference, this time the iPhone photography conference. And Larry, I'm always excited about these presentations, but I'm super excited today because we've got some really cool things to show people. A lot of this is going to be gear oriented, but I'm also going to show you some apps that you may or may not have heard about. We're going to talk a little bit about time-lapse photography. We're going to talk a little bit about stop-motion photography. We'll talk about how to do an overhead setup for doing flat lay photography. We're going to get into all those things, so please stick around, and thank you for joining us. And Larry, this is a live session, so tell them what that means.
Well, what it means is you get to ask questions. Now, all day long, and in the orientation session yesterday, I said, you can go into the Q&A and ask questions, but the instructors are not going to answer those questions until after their class is over, and then maybe they'll go back in and type an answer. Well, with this, it's different. We will actually answer your questions, but not as you ask them during the session. Rather, we've got a little segment at the end. So as we go through all this and show you the different training materials that you're going to see through this session, then if you come up with questions, go ahead and put them into the Q&A. And then as we are wrapping up, we'll go into the Q&A and find out what your questions are. And I'll get Dr. T to answer your questions directly.
Thank you so much. So let's, before we start, because many of you know exactly what every piece is in the Platypod ecosystem, but many of you don't. So I'm just going to do a very brief introduction into some of the main pieces of equipment that we'll be talking about tonight, and you'll learn the names of these, so when we refer to them, you'll know what we're talking about. We're going to start off with the all-new Platypod Delta. Actually, I'm going to hold it this way, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you guys can see a little closer. So this is the Platypod Delta. This is brand new. We actually today started shipping this out to our Kickstarter backers. This was offered on Kickstarter, and thank you all who supported us. So first, we're shipping out to our Kickstarter backers who requested early delivery. That started today. And then we're going to be progressing through the ranks of Kickstarter, sending out to people. And then in mid-April, we'll be sending out to everyone else. But I would suggest, if you would like a Platypod Delta, please go to our website, pre-order one, and you'll be able to get one in mid-April. Well, let's show you how this works. This is a tripod, believe it or not. And you can simply lay it down on a surface and mount on a ball head, mount on a ball head like this, or put on several different devices here, as well as there are holes for attachment of things like goosenecks and elbows and other devices. So it's a really cool tool. You can also strap it onto things. We're going to show you a little bit later how you do that. But something new about the Delta versus some of our older Platypods is that this one has flip-out feet in this very compact design. And what these feet allow you to do is to go onto rock or concrete surfaces or just avoid slipping using either sharp spike tips, or we have these little rubber tips on here that can be wound down over the sharp spikes, and they're rubberized so that they won't slip around. So this gives you a lot of options. The next Platypod I'll show you is our larger one called the Platypod Extreme. We'll show you soon how this is used, so you can do larger setups, taller setups, and attach more devices to this. This also has flip out legs, a little bit more versatile because they'll flip out in different directions. So you can use this on something that's going uphill by going in this direction, or downhill in the other direction, or just splaying them out for really solid hold. It also has belt loop slots. This one's got basically a carrying handle here, carabiner slots, so that you can hold on to these onto your belt or your backpack with a carabiner. And that's all I'll say about this. If you want to learn more about the Extreme, go to our website and you'll see actually Larry Becker has a video there explaining how that's used. But I want to move along. A new little ball head that we have introduced as the younger sibling of the Platypod Ergo. This one is a push-button ball head, and again, I'll refer you to the website for details on the Ergo. But this is the Platypod Traveler, meant for travel, because it's very lightweight yet very sturdy. This will hold up to about 15 pounds, over 15 pounds, and very compact, very easy to move around with and pack tightly into your bag, and it's not expensive. You'll see on our website the price on this. It also has a clamp on top of here, and this is an ARCA-compatible clamp. ARCA-compatible clamps are available on about 80% of ball heads made in the world, and they accommodate plates like this that have a little groove. Maybe you could see over here, little groove that can slide right into here and clamp on. Well, there's variations on this plate. In fact, the Traveler comes with its own plate. This looks a little different, doesn't it? But it's got that groove over here. So it will also go onto here, and it screws right into the bottom of your camera or other devices, allowing you to use it. And again, that comes together with the Traveler. The next item is going to be really of interest to everyone who is attending this conference, and this is the Platypod Grip. This is an iPhone holder, and just to show you quickly how that works, you can put this directly on any Platypod, really on any tripod, and it allows you to clamp on your phone here. But what's really cool here is with a 5-pound hold, you just twist this little knob, and now you can fully move this around, swing this around, and with one little twist of the knob, you can lock it down. And as I said, this will hold up to a 5-pound object. You could even mount a camera onto here if you take off the little clamp part, the spring-loaded clamp on top. It also has some slots over here called cold shoe mounts. We're going to show you a little later how those are used. But the Grip does a little bit more. It mounts not just onto a standard 3/8 inch tripod bolt, but it will also be ARCA compatible. So this would mount onto our ball head just like this. So you could put that right in here. It also has some other screw holes in here for 1/4 inch, so you could mount it onto other smaller devices, and you can see the whole configuration on the bottom there. You have a nice reflection. So 3/8 inch in the center, and you've got some 1/4 inch holes here. All right, I want to move kind of quickly through this. The last thing I want to show you for now, and we'll get into more detail later, is the Platypod handle. The handle is a riser. It raises objects that you're going to mount on, photographic things that you want to mount on above your tripod, in this case, the Platypod Extreme. It's 6.5 inches tall. It also has, if you notice, some mounting holes, 1/4 inch threaded mounting holes, so you can also put into here these 1/4 inch devices like our elbows and like the goosenecks. But look what this does. You just twist here, and it will go from 6 inches, whoa, past the camera there, to up to 10.5 inches, and you can stack 2 of these on top of each other for 21 inches, and they are super sturdy. The last trick I'm going to show you with this is if you separate the stages of this, you can reveal a 3-inch riser. You take off the cap from the top of here, and mount it onto here, and now you've got a 3-inch riser, which is really great for food photography. Now you know the basic pieces of equipment, and once again, just to review the names so you'll know what we're talking about. This is Platypod Delta. This is the Platypod Extreme. The grip, the traveler ball head, and the handle. Larry, I'll hand over to you for a second.
Okay. So the only thing that Dr. T didn't mention that I think is so cool, because every time I tell people about it, they're like, I can't believe it does that. The handle, just like what Dr. T has, I'm going to take this one off of here. The handle, notice the bottom shape here. This, I've got a little setup with the traveler over here. It's also ARCA compatible, so it'll fit right into a ball head.
And that's really part of the Platypod philosophy, is try to make everything fit with everything else. And Larry, thank you for demonstrating that. And I'm going to demonstrate it one more time a little later in the show when we talk about our overhead flat lay setup. And stick around. You'll get to see that as well. But yes, both the grip and the handle have ARCA compatible bases. All right, I think it's time for us to move into our PowerPoint presentation. So without any further ado, let's again welcome all of you joining us now for the iPhone Photography Conference, the Platypod segment of that conference. And the title of our segment is Take a Stand with Platypod, because this is a great way to stand up your equipment and to support it really, really well. So Larry, can you kind of set the scene over here for what we're about to show?
Yeah, I actually mentioned a couple of times during announcements today that you and I and a whole lot of people were at Imaging USA this year. I didn't mention that it was in this beautiful resort hotel called the Gaylord Texan. And the Gaylord Texan has, and Dr. T did some nice video inside there, just gorgeous, gorgeous area in the middle. And people walking around and all kinds of stuff, but you even see, you know, it looks like outdoor plants, but this is all inside a high arch roof area. And so we stood off to the side of the main walking path. You see the gray walking path on the left. And then the little koi pond right there that you see in the foreground, that's where we were standing. And we just wanted to take a picture. But here's the catch with taking this picture. We didn't want to use a remote control. We just wanted to set up and use an iPhone. And we only had just me and Dr. T there, but we both wanted to be in the picture. So how do you get both the people in the picture and not use the remote control? Well, I guess you could use a timer and try and run into the picture, but we didn't do that. We did it a different way, and we just leveraged the technology that's already in the iPhone. So with that said, look at this next slide that Dr. T has for you.
Before we go to the slide, Larry, I just want to show the basic setup that that we did, and that is we started with a Delta and flipped out the legs of the Delta, because if you saw in the picture there was this little rock ledge. You'll see a little bit more in the next slide. And so we set this up on that ledge. Then we put on a traveler bullhead. Now, I told you before, you could put the grip right on here and it'll work, but we wanted to do a smooth pano shot. And when you want to do a panoramic shot, the way to do it is using a panoramic head. Now, you could do this with, and I'll zoom in here again for you. You can do this with the Platypod Traveler. You could also, if you have those of you who have the Platypod Ergo or Elite, you could do it with those too, and this has a really nice smooth pano head on the top too. But I'm going to show this with the Traveler because that's how we did it in the demonstration here. All right, so we'll put this over here. Then I'm going to mount my Platypod grip on top here, and you'll understand in a second why we needed a ball head for this. Okay, so you've got this all set up. You've got your camera, in this case the iPhone, set up on top of here, and I'm going to get this nice and straight and get ready for our pano. And the place where the place where you do your twist from is down here. You hold on to one of the controls, make sure to loosen the panning knob, and now you're just going to slowly pan across when you're doing the panoramic shot. Just to show you for a second what that looks like, let me just activate our phone here. Okay, now you're actually looking at my phone screen, and you can see me here. Now, if you take your phone, your iPhone camera settings, your camera app, and then you slide over to all the way to the end to pano, now you see an arrow here to pan with, and you can just press the button at the bottom. Now you're recording. Okay, and you can see that you're developing a pano before your eyes, and when you're all done, you hit the button and you've got your image coming up right at the bottom here, which you can open up and you can view. Okay, so that's the technique. Let me break out again here and go back to the PowerPoint presentation. Okay, and Larry, if you'll describe again what we're doing in the next slide.
Yeah, the delta is actually on the rock. I've got it held there. And I went into pano function, started the pano, and then stopped panning, and then you and I switched places. And we'll do it in the next video, we'll do it in opposite direction. You and I are switching places, but the concept is the same. One of us stands in the image, and the other one starts the pano photography, does a little bit of panning, and then it's really important that the camera stays steady when you walk away from it, because you're mid-pan right now. And then as soon as you step away from it in that mid-pan position, then you swap, you trade places, and the other person stands in, and then you continue the panning. You don't have to restart recording, nothing like that. You started the pano, you started moving the camera, panning it left and right, and as soon as you get partway there, then you swap positions within the place. And you can see that's what's going on here. Dr. T stepped in on the right, and then I'm continuing the panorama by twisting it. And there's the result. So we're both operating the camera, we're both creating a panorama, we're both in the picture. And it's all one picture, and yeah, you could crop it down or you could leave it as a panorama like this, but we use the panorama function, and the fact that we had a ball head that has panning in it, you know, the panning function of the ball head, and then started the pano of the iPhone camera. And that's how we came up with this.
And you could switch positions, and there we are, trading back left and right.
Yeah.
Just ran again. Now, some things can go wrong with this, Larry, and some things actually did. We don't have the bloopers reel over here. You want to tell the people what happened?
When I was practicing this, I thought, oh, well, it'll be kind of neat if we get our friend Shiv Verma. He's a photographer, and he was also at the Platypod booth for this trade show. And I thought, I'll just get 4 separate pictures of Shiv. So I took a picture of Shiv, and I was doing the panorama, and then I stopped, and I said, Shiv, take a couple steps that way, and then take a couple more steps. And every time he would step and stop, then I would move the pano a little bit more. He'd step over, and then I would move the pano a little bit more. And what we discovered is I have 4 copies of Shiv in one picture. So it looks like he's there 4 times. But then when you look at the image closely, because the positions that he stood in were too close to one another as I'm doing the panoramic function and stopping and starting again, it cut off, like on the last 2 versions of him on the right, it cut off on one, it cut off his right arm, so right about here. And on the other one, his leg was missing from the knee down. And it just has to do with where are you going, how far are you going, and where. And it's fun because it takes a little bit of experimenting to work it out. And I think even when you and I did it, Dr. T, when we stood too close to one another in the pano, it cuts off part of the other person. So we had to stand a little bit further away to make the thing work.
So that's an important point. When you're doing this and you're moving your camera across, you're going to see a larger image here and then the pano stripe below. Let me just go back to that. And then the pano stripe below it. What you want to do is make sure that the individual who's in the scene here, as you pan across, is out of your main larger screen before you change positions, and then you can go ahead and do it. If part of them is still in that screen before you change position, you may end up with 3 arms or 3 legs or something like that. So yeah, good point, Larry. All right. Speaking of Shiv Verma, I will just go on to the next slide. And this is Shiv together with us at the Platypod booth at Imaging USA, demonstrating a very interesting setup where he did some artistic images of macaroni. And you'll get to see this more in a second. But what I want to do is I want to talk a little bit about what we call a flat lay setup. And this is an incredibly useful setup for food photography, for product photography, for cooking shows. If you want to have that overhead view, where you're showing what's going on in the pot or in the plate, this is a really great tool to use. Now, copy stands can cost up to $1,000, and they're big and bulky, and they have a big board and everything. This is a copy stand that you can simply clamp on to a table or the edge of a counter and be able to use. You can go into a restaurant. And we're going to do on our Platypod channel, which we'll talk about later, you can go into a restaurant and shoot the menu very easily without tripods that people are going to be tripping over. So let's just show you the setup. And then I'm going to actually break it down and build it up again so that you can see exactly how this is done. So this is the overhead setup, okay? And I'll show you how we assemble this. Okay, so we'll take off. There's a Platypod grip. Now you know all the names of all the tools. A handle, the traveler ball head. Now you can ignore these 2 pieces. This is to show how you can add on lights and things, but I want to show you the basic setup for now. Okay, and here's the handle. So we start with a Platypod Extreme. Okay, which is here. You clamp it onto a table, and the reason to clamp it is especially when you're doing setups where things are going to be far forward, you don't want anything to trip over. Not as important for the iPhone, but if you're putting on a heavy camera, this is good to have. You don't have to use this clamp. Any 4-inch clamp will do it. I like this one because it quickly just ratchets onto the table. I don't have to sit there, twisting anything. Okay, and that's super tight. Now I can go as heavy as I want to with this. And Larry will mention in a minute a little alternative to the clamp that can be used. But okay, you put on a handle here. I'm going to raise it up just a little bit and tighten it on nicely. Then add on the ball head. You can use the Traveler, or you could use really any ball head on top of here. This becomes a joint to be able to create a boom arm. Now, I'm going to rotate this around so that it is leaning forward, okay, and then tighten up the panning over here. Then Larry mentioned to you that the bottom of a Platypod handle is ARCA compatible. You can see that angle there. Well, I'm going to be able to put this right onto the ball head here and tighten that in place, okay? So we've got a handle, the ball head as a joint, another handle over here, everything's tightened down nicely, and for iPhone photographers, the last thing you want to do is to add on a Platypod grip. Now, if you're going to be doing larger cameras, if you're going to be using larger cameras, then you just put a second ball head here at the top. But for right now, we're going to show this with the grip. And I'm just going to spin that on to the 3/8 inch bolt. Oh, here's a trick, by the way. I'm doing this backwards, so If you want to find the bolt, just wind it backwards till you kind of get a click. And there we go, click, and then it just winds on. Well, very nicely. Well, it did wind on very nice. Here we go. Got it. Okay, here we go. And we're ready to roll there. Now you can just take your camera, in this case the iPhone, and you can place that right overhead, and now you're looking straight down. You can position this nice and flat. Now you're going to say, okay, I can't see my screen anymore. What should I do? Well, 2 suggestions. Suggestion number 1, bring a little step stool and you can step up. But I'll have an easier suggestion in a second. And here I can, just using this, I can look down and I can see exactly what's going on over here. And I can put my food right underneath and see what's happening. The other suggestion would be you can use your Apple Watch. And I think Scott Kelby spoke about that this morning as to how to use the Apple Watch with the camera app to view what's going on in your phone. So here's my camera remote, and I can just use that to trigger this. I can zoom in and out. I can position my, my food, and here's the copy stand setup. So Larry, any questions about the setup before we go into the next images?
The way that we're looking at it on camera to you is straight on, so people can't necessarily see the angle that it's bent
So
at.
I'll just rotate that a little bit. Hang on. We'll turn that.
There you go. That gives folks a better idea of what the copy stand is. And the key is what Dr. T is doing right now. Clamp that to the table because it's top heavy and it's forward heavy. And so you don't want it tipping over and crashing and smacking things on your table or bumping your phone off the grip.
All right, let's go into the next slide. And Larry, if you can just describe here what Shiv is doing with this type of setup.
Right, so he's got the copy stand set up, and you can kind of see there are some little clamps there on the edge grabbing the table. And he's got his iPhone on top of the extended arm and inside of a grip, and he's shooting straight down. And he's got this really cool setup. I don't know what inspired him to do this, but when you see the finished image in a second, you're going to really like it. He took several different kinds of pasta and then taped them to this black background. So you kind of see what's going on from here, and you're like, what the heck? Why is that even a picture? That's not interesting. How is this an image? And then you start to see, okay, it's side lit. And the way that he's lighting it, he's showing dimensionality. And you look at the camera at the screen of your iPhone, and you can start to see the composition coming together. We're looking at a behind the scenes right now, so it's not as impactful as a piece of art, but you can see how it's being created. And when you see the finished image, that's amazing.
Look at the texture there, Larry. You were talking about the lighting. That just brings out this beautiful texture and shadows, highlights. It's
not even the same world. This is art and design, and the other was just it was some gear on a trade show booth, and it really is. This really did come from that setup. So what you see with the copy stand type of setup is the ability to shoot straight down and be creative with your lights, have it straight down lights or side lights. That's the thing a lot of people do, and I'm in the habit of thinking with straight down lights because a lot of stuff that I do with my quote unquote copy stand, I actually make copies. I capture images of documents all the time when I'm working in my home office. So I have a setup a lot like this.
One little tip when you're doing that kind of setup, also, Larry, is to if you're doing documents, is to have your lights facing downward. Let me just come out here for a second. have your lights facing downward, about 45-degree angle to the page that you're copying. This way, the light from the one side comes down and bounces off and up the other way, not back into the camera. So remember 45-degree lighting when you're doing copying, and you want to light equally from both sides, because there you would like it to be shadowless if you're just copying images. So
that's exactly right. And you talked about earlier a piece of equipment. I got to tell you, I found out about this from my friend Eddie Tapp, and Eddie helped us out on a Platypod class last year, and he had this clever way of doing the copy stand kind of setup like this. In my home office, I don't have my copy stand set up on a table where I can use that clamp on the edge. I have it on a filing cabinet. I have a wide wooden filing cabinet, and it doesn't have the edges where I can do the clamp. So how do you keep it? Because even with this short one, I at my home office, I've got a handle, and then I've got the ball head, and I've got another handle. Tonight, just to show you, I've got the grip up here and my iPhone up here. But even with just the grip and just my iPhone, it still kind of wants to teeter this way. So Eddie Tapp's trick for this on that flat surface that is my cabinet is this. It's a rubber-coated scuba weight, scuba belt weight. And I got this from Amazon. It was like, it's 5 pounds, 4 or 5 pounds. And you can set it on there. And now I'm not worried about it tipping over. It's really solid. It's not as solid as that clamp. The clamp is really going to grab it hard. But when you don't have the option of the edge of the table and a clamp on that, this is a really good solution. And one of my friends today that is working here on set with us, his name is Dobson. He is a diver, and he said, hey, why don't you take one of the Platypod straps and put it through there and then strap it on here so it doesn't want to tip off of there. So there's another part to the solution. But just having a heavy 4 or 5 pound scuba weight can make all the difference in the world. It is trustworthy now, and I'm not worried about my camera being out there over the edge like that.
Thank you, Larry. All right, so let's move on. Let's move on to the next. We've still got some ground to cover here. So next item, I just wanted to mention to you something that we call the Platypod Smart Start Influencer Smart Start Kit. And I would just like to show that to everyone for a minute. And this is a really nice kit for people who are doing vlogging. I think Jefferson Graham's going to be speaking about movie making with Platypods. But if you're a vlogger, if you just want to do a presentation or webinars, this is a nice little setup. So this comes with a Platypod Extreme and a Platypod handle and the grip. And what you can then do with it is add on other devices, because the grip has these cold shoe attachments. And to show you how it's used, if you have a device like this light, let me just bring this over here, like this light that has a cold shoe base, you can just take it and slide it right in here. Now there are, on the back of the device, of the grip, there are some 1/4-inch slots, so you could add things there. You can also add goosenecks over here if you want your lights to be a little further away. But here I have a light. Here I have a shotgun microphone. Now all I have to do is set this on a table, point it at myself, and I can talk straight into the camera, or the phone in this case, and do my broadcasting. But then one other thing you can do with this is when you're done with it sitting on a table or on a ledge, you can lift it up and you can just walk around with the whole rig. And because it's got a little bit of weight to it on the bottom, it almost acts like a gimbal in keeping very, very still and steady, so you get really smooth movement with it. And I think, Larry, you had one other device you wanted to show that you could clip onto here, which people might find handy for their vlogging work.
Yeah, I have the Rode Wireless Go microphone set. I've got a couple of these sets. And the Wireless Go is just this little square. This is the receiver. And then on the back, it has this little clip. And most people clip that to their shirt, but it does fit into the cold shoe. So you can clip it right like that. And then you clip the other version of the microphone onto your shirt. And so I've got this here, and you have a little cable that goes from the receiver into the bottom of the smartphone, your iPhone, and you're good to go. You've got that in a mobile microphone version. So the transmitter, the receiver, and it's plugged into my iPhone when I'm shooting videos. And I do that same thing. I do this as a gimbal.
All right, thank you, Larry. And I want to move on to another topic now. We talked about a little bit before that we were going to make a presentation on time-lapse photography. And I don't know if there's other speakers speaking on time-lapse, but let's break for a second to talk about how to set that up. Now, you can set up time-lapse on any surface, really, but if you're in an urban area and you don't want people handling your equipment or phone snatchers snatching your equipment, I recommend when you're going to do time-lapse, strap it onto a pole or a tree. And strap it on high. Bring with you a step stool so you can get it up there 7 or 8 feet high so that no one will touch your phone when you're doing especially a longer time-lapse, 20 minutes, an hour or so, and you want to get something really incredible like sun setting or clouds flying across the scene or people moving, cars moving. And we'll show 2 examples of some time lapses. So I have a rig set up here on the pole, but I'm going to show you how exactly to do this. So you would take a strap. Now the Delta and the older Platypod Ultra came with straps, but you can also get straps in our multi-accessory kit. There's a 36-inch strap in this kit, and I have that over here. But I want to show you with the Delta type strap how you can get longer lengths and how you can use this to strap on. Now, as of today, these straps, not only do they come with a Platypod Delta 1 strap, but you can buy a set of 2 for under $13. Why would you want 2? Well, these are great to get around about a 4-inch pole. But if you want to get around something larger, you may want to daisy chain these together. Now, these straps have 2 methods of closure. One is using Velcro. So just like this, you loop it through and you close it in with the Velcro. And I can show this a little closer up. All right, you can just put it in with the Velcro. Or you can use the double D rings for an even tighter hold. Now, this is how you do double D rings. Listen carefully. Remember the words through, over, under. That's always the sequence you'll use. You're going to go through both rings. Then you're going to go over the first ring. Let's go over the first ring here. And then under the second ring. And when I do that, now I happen to have this closing onto Velcro, but when I do that, the hold comes from the rings, and the tighter you pull, the tighter the hold. So the more tension there is, the better the hold gets. The more weight you put on, the better the hold gets. And then to loosen it, you just jiggle it right through there, and it comes right out. Now, how do you put 2 of these together? Well, very simple. You take, this is an older one from the Platypod Ultra, and I'll just simply put the strap through both. Remember, through, over, under. So we go through both rings, over the first ring, under the second ring. And you don't have to tack it down, but I'm going to just to be neat. And again, very, very tight hold. Now, when I'll put all this together, I've got a belt that'll go around 10 inches here, which will fit most medium tree trunks. You could put 3 together if you want to, but this is now available in our Platypod straps set, and I think a lot of you will want to have 1 or 2 of these in each camera bag for when you need it. All right, let's show you how to put this on here. First of all, when you're using the Velcro, and I'm going to do this with Velcro just to make it a little bit simpler right now. The trick is black Velcro on the outside of the loop. Remember that, black on the outside. And then you're going to loop it through here. I'm going to hook my Platypod Delta onto this. And you see it's got these little belt loop arms. Larry, is that coming through pretty clearly?
Yeah, I can see what's going on. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
All right, and you can see that that's hooked on. Then I'm going to take this, and one little other trick. Remember we talked about those flip out feet? Well, I'm going to flip one of them out right now, and I'll show you why in a second. All right, let's get this a little off to the side. And Larry, you'll tell me if it's hard to see something, I'll reposition.
No, the lighting in your studio is good.
I'm going to wind this back here, position this straight on here. Now I've got this nice and tight, but I'm going to give it a little bit more tension using the spike that's down here, so it's really strong. Now I can just go ahead and I hope I get this on faster this time than last time. It's always harder to do this under pressure. There you go. Okay. And we got that on. Now I could take my phone and just position it right in here, and I'm ready to do as long a time lapse as I would like to do. And you see the entire rig, the entire setup. All right. Is there a question about that before we show an example of some time lapse?
No, I just want to point out you can do that strapped onto a post or a pole, park benches, and you can also, obviously, you can have the Delta horizontal. You know, it could be flat onto those surfaces as well. And in that case, you may or may not need the strap. A lot of times when I'm walking, doing like trail walking or something like that, I don't want to take a chance of bumping it and knocking it off the rail into the woods or something. So I usually use a strap as a safety measure.
All right. So let's talk a little bit more about time lapse and the tools that you can use for time lapse. You must know by now, if you've used the Apple app on your phone. Let's just come back here. Okay, if you use the Apple app on your phone, you know I go into the camera app, and to get to time lapse, I just swing over here till it says time lapse at the bottom. Okay, I'm going to flip the camera around over here. All right, and all you do is just press that button, and it starts doing time lapse for you. Well, do you have any settings that can adjust this? You have I think you have an exposure setting here that you can make it brighter and dimmer, but that's about all the control that you have here. Apple governs the control of that time-lapse app, and for those of you who didn't know, Apple tries to keep the length of your time-lapse video somewhere between 10 and 40 seconds. So if you shoot a time lapse for anywhere from 0 to 10 minutes, it's going to shoot automatically at 2 frames per second. If you're shooting for a length of 10 to 20 minutes of your actual shooting, it'll go down to 1 frame per second, and you can see so on. The final video, no matter where you're shooting, is going to come out somewhere in this range because Apple decides that for you. For those of you who would like a little bit more control, there is an app called SkyFlow. Okay, the first one we discussed was the time lapse in the iPhone camera, and then SkyFlow. And I'm actually going to show you what SkyFlow looks like. It's an inexpensive app that you can download, and for the basic features, I think it's free. If you want to add on features, there's some add-ons, but again, not expensive. So let's just go into SkyFlow for a second. And if I want to do a new video, I hit the little camera at the top center, and that takes me into the app. At the bottom are the main controls. So a central start trigger button. There's a delay timer where you can set a start delay. So if you want to start, 10 minutes from now, you can you can set that start delay anywhere from, a few seconds to 24 hours. The intervals can be set. So if you only want to shoot one frame every 25 seconds, you can do that and you can control that. You can control the duration. Now at the bottom in the gray you see 15F. That means it's going to shoot 15 frames total for the duration. If I make it longer, you'll see how many frames it's shooting and the duration of how long you're shooting for. Okay. There are settings for auto white balance. I'm not going to get into too much detail. You can have a horizontal level on here. And I think you can see that, those little lines right here in the corner. Okay, where you can balance it left, right, up, down. I guess you want to match it to be all green like that. Okay, and lots of other settings. You can set the resolution, 4K video, HD video, JPEG or JPEG and RAW, and really it just gives you incredible manual control. There's a stabilizer on here, HDR, although nobody seems to like to use HDR. If you're into time-lapse, I would suggest go onto YouTube. There's plenty of videos that will show you how to use equipment like this, and it's loads of fun. And now just to show you an example that our friend Kirsten Lutz did in England. Here we go. This is the London Eye, and on a bridge in London showing the traffic, and you can have loads of fun doing time-lapse. Larry, any comments on the time-lapse before we get into stop motion?
No, the time-lapse stuff is great. I would suggest if you're thinking about getting into it, start with what the iPhone has, tinker with it, and then if it works for you, great. And if you get frustrated that you don't have enough control, well, now you know what the right thing is. Look into SkyFlow, and you'll see you have even more control, as Dr. T showed you. It's pretty quick learning.
Well, thank you. Let's move on then into talking about stop motion, because this is incredibly cool. Our friend Kirsten Lutz, and we'll tell you how to find this information, did an entire series on Lego toy photography. And it's a great way to learn your photography just by doing toy photography, as you'll see from our friends Jesse Fireeisen, Dave the Bear Maker. They've got some Kelby One videos on how to do toy photography, but specifically Legos are great because they're everywhere. And this is a great project for you to be able to do with your children, with your grandchildren, nephews, nieces on a rainy day, getting into stop motion photography. So let's show you a little example. This is an excerpt from Kirsten's teaching video on stop motion animation to give you an idea of what he does. He shows you how to position the figures to get movement, how to get them to walk. And you can add on music and audio and have loads of fun. So there is a great app. This is very hard to do because on the iPhone with the Apple Camera app, because it doesn't really give you a method to do individual frames in the time that you want them and give you time to make changes in between. So Kirsten and I like to recommend this app to you called Stop Motion Studio. And if you would like to take a screenshot of that, or you can write it down or take a picture with your phone, Stop Motion Studio, another free app with some in-app purchases that you can use. And just very briefly, Stop Motion Studio kind of looks like this. And when I'm ready to do a new movie, I click on New Movie. And this is a little teaching video. Let me get out of this. Okay. Do a new movie. And just to give you an idea, let me put my camera on Platypod. Okay. And I've got this little piece of cake over here just to give you a quick idea of how this is done. Now, you'll see in the right upper corner, there's a little camera. I'm going to tap that camera, and now I have my shooting studio. So we'll start with the cake over here. I'm going to press the red button. If you look at the left side, that little vertical bar up and down, you're going to see that's going to move up and down each time I do a shot. So watch, tap, and there, that went down and up. Then I'm going to move the cake a little bit. Tap, up and down. Yes, it is a plastic cake. Up and down. And we're just going to keep doing this, and then back, and then back. Don't worry, I'm only going to do a few more of these, and then you'll just get to see the result. And this little thing on this little lever on the side, you can slide this up, and it shows you the transition between your shots. Now, I haven't taped down my setup. Kirsten recommends that you do tape it down. And one more. And then we can play the video and you can see. And if you do a much longer video with many more frames, you can get much finer movements, but you get the basic idea of how this is done. Larry, let's show everyone how they can find Kirsten's video series. If you want to just explain that, please.
So what you want to do is go to platypod.com. And when you get to platypod.com, look across the top of this. At the top left, it says Shop and Platypod Pros and Newsletter. But on the right, FAQ and then the word Learn. When you click on the word Learn, it'll take you into the Educational Hub. And this is searchable, and it's also like blogs and things like that. And you'll find that separately, there's a Platypod YouTube channel, but from this location, you can do searches by clicking the little magnifying glass and putting in something like what Dr. T has shown on screen here. You put in the word Lego, well, you're gonna see all of the tutorials that Kirsten did about Lego photography, and you'll see these stop motions, you'll see toy photography and things like that that Kirsten did in each of his videos in this series. So a lot of nice training about Legos, and you can find it all by going to platypod.com, then click on the Learn section, then click the magnifying glass, and then just type in the word Lego. That's how you can find this.
And again, it's a wonderful way to get kids that you love involved in photography, excited about them. Just tell them to bring over their favorite Lego, and you get to play with them together. I think it's a wonderful activity. And when you get to YouTube, if you like Kirsten's videos, we have now, I think, over 6,000 subscribers to our YouTube channel. You just go to YouTube and search for Platypod channel, or you go to the Platypod Learn site, and that'll take you to the YouTube channel. If you like what you see, please hit the subscribe button and ring the bell. That'll be below the video. You can do that, and this way you'll get a weekly notification because we put out a new video every week. These videos are anywhere from about 3 minutes to maybe 10 or 12 minutes, depending on the topic. This next slide is to remind me to tell you about something that is a really nice gift for friends, relatives, people you love, who may not be photographers, but still want to get the benefits of having a great tool like the Platypod grip. And they don't necessarily need all the bells and whistles of the Delta, but they just want to stand for the grip. We make a very simple plate for under $10 called the Platypod Basic, and it has the same kind of 3/8 inch bolt. Although this one's stainless steel, the one on the Delta is made out of titanium. You can just put this on to your, look how quick I got it on this time, Larry. No fumbling. Okay, and then you can just mount your phone onto there. And I use this literally every single day to read my email at breakfast, or to FaceTime with my kids and grandkids. It's a wonderful tool. It's not expensive. It does come as a set of Grip Plus Basic if you would like to purchase it that way. And it is available on platypod.com right now. Just to show you some of the more elaborate setups that you can do, and literally you can put half a dozen different devices on here. Here I have on the Platypod Extreme a camera showing that you can do still photography and videos at the same time from the same vantage point with one setup that can be moved around anywhere.
When you get to the website, you'll actually see the 50 off 400, 75 off 500, 100 off 600. Those at the very bottom line, that text that's in black, that is the discount code. And this banner is on the Platypod website. So you actually can use this discount in addition to other discounts. And you'll find that in a lot of cases, not every time and not with every single discount code, but with a lot of the discount codes on the Platypod website, or if you sign up for the newsletter and subscribe to that, you'll get discount codes there, and you'll find that they are stackable in many cases. So you're able to use more than one discount code on a single purchase. Platypod discount works across the ecosystem for the entire Platypod family. Just make sure that you subscribe to the newsletter, because the newsletter is a couple of different things. It gets you those discounts. It tells you about special deals that are going on, but it also gives you a lot of great information and instruction. There's a newsletter that comes out once a month, and it's going to have fantastic articles, some of the summaries of the best blog posts from the month, and it's not overwhelming, and it's not just like constantly bugging you with nothing but ads. No, it's actual learning that you're going to get in your inbox. All right, this is another place that a lot of people go to talk with other Platypod users, ask questions about using the gear, post images of great pictures that they've taken, and this is a place that if you're a decent iPhone photographer, you can get discovered, because we've discovered a number of really great iPhone and regular camera photographers over at the Platypod Users Group on Facebook. When you go over there and join Platypod Users Official, you'll find that that group has a lot of people that like the same kinds of things that you like, that have answers to the questions that you have. You know, hey, I just got this Platypod. I was wondering if there's a clever way that anybody's used this, or I'm traveling to the UK. Am I going to have a problem with a Platypod in my carry-on luggage? Those kinds of answers you'll find from fellow members of the Platypod Users Official Group over on Facebook, and you'll also see great information and instruction. Here is one of the things that we already told you a little bit about, and that is the Platypod channel. When you go to YouTube, and if you just search on YouTube for Platypod, you will find tons of videos, because lots and lots and lots of great photographers have gotten Platypod gear and they review it. And so you'll find tons of videos all about Platypod gear. But if you want to see the official channel where there are instructional videos and webinars and things that are just about the topic you care about, just about the piece of gear you care about. If you want to see a video manual, then you want to search for Platypod channel. Make sure that's your search over on YouTube, Platypod channel, and then subscribe over there, and you will find all kinds of great stuff. And like Dr. T said, there's a new video coming out every single week from the Platypod channel.
Well, that about, I think, wraps up our presentation. Larry, I just also want to mention that the the Influencer Smart Start kit is also available at a deep discount, and if you have other discounts, they may apply to this as well. All right, Larry, do we have time for questions?
We don't have time for questions, but I'm going to do it anyway. We got a couple good questions that came in. Doug Kia says, what's the difference between the Platyball Ergo and the Platyball Elite?
There's only one difference. I'm sorry, I don't have an Elite in front of me here. Oh, wait, maybe.
They're on the
Maybe I do.
poster.
Yes, I
They're
do.
on the poster right behind you.
Oh, that's also true. But here's a Platypod Elite. The difference is the Elite has a little leveling indicator on it. So it's got a built-in electronic level. Otherwise, the Ergo does not. The Ergo fits a little bit snugger in your hand, and especially for people with smaller hands, I would recommend the Ergo. The Elite, I should tell you, is not available. You'll see it on the Platypod website, but you can only purchase it from B&H Photo. Our website will lead you to B&H Photo, so you can find this. They do have this at a discount, but B&H has an exclusive on the sales of the Platyball Elite. The Ergo is available on our website, also at a discount, and you can purchase that there if that's what you'd like.
All right. June Norserthy, I'm sorry if I mispronounced your last name, June, says, do you have a grip for the car?
Well, there is a way to put a grip on a car, and you'd have to probably use you'd probably have to use some double stick tape and be able to stick the Platypod Basic or the Delta onto it. So you'd need to put some tape here. I have not tried those strips that you can pull out.
Oh, the command
but
strips?
Yeah, you'd have to attach this to this. Sorry about that. We do not yet have a car adapter. There are plenty of those.
You know what I've got, Dr. T, is they make that little triangular sandbag you can find in some auto parts places, and I don't know if you can buy them online, probably. And they have a little disc in the middle of it that's just flat plastic, and you can stick those two things together. So yeah, it's like a sandbag that you would attach your Basic to. Next question is Lisa V says, there are just so many creative ideas that come out of these sessions with Larry and Larry. I love these sessions. Okay, that wasn't a question. That was a nice compliment. Thanks, Lisa. Next up, I see one from Shannon in Texas. I haven't been able to find a good clamp that's as easy to use as that orange one that you have. Any suggestion?
This one, I purchased this one at Lowe's. You can find Home Depot has its own brand. This one's made by Pony, and it just clicks together. I think I paid about $13 for it, $10.
Okay.
But take a look. So this one, again, is available at Lowe's. You could probably find it online as well. This one is made by Pony. I do recommend it. I like this particularly because it's got rubbery tips, and it doesn't seem to slip around as some of the other brands that I've tried. But really, any kind of C-clamp will work too. This is nice because of the speed. It's just ratchet together, and then there's a release trigger, and it releases open. So I do like this one.
That's great. And I think the blue one, I have a blue and yellow one. I actually have several of them from Home Depot, and I think the brand is Irwin, Irwin, I-R-W-I-N, I think. Don't quote me on that. Dr. T, that is the end of our questions. Thank you so much for doing this tonight.
Thank you. And I am heading to England tomorrow. And for those of you in merry old London, please come visit us at the photography show this coming week. We're very excited to be there and meet all our British and European friends. And for those watching here from Europe, we are now shipping out of Belgium. For anyone who is outside the Americas, we're shipping from Belgium, and that should get you your Platypod gear a lot faster. So we hope that helps you out as well. Larry, thank you so much. I want to thank my wife, Minna, Shiv Verma, Larry, Scott Kelby, Jason, and Dobson, and Eric, and everybody in the studio for helping us make these presentations, and we hope you learned something.
Dr. T, it was a great evening. Folks, thank you so much for coming into this later session with Larry and Larry, talking about Platypod gear. You know, I've been a gearhead forever, and I just love this kind of stuff. And then seeing the innovations and the ways that people are using it and putting it together, great stuff. And you get to take advantage by learning from a class like this and then saving a big chunk of money by using that special code. Thank you so much for coming and watching this after hour session. We're going to start back up and have a whole nother day of iPhone photography courses from the best folks on the planet, starting tomorrow morning. So come back tomorrow morning and we'll see you again in class. Have a good night, everybody.